Welcome to Talkin Shop with ShopSabre. My name is Brandon. I'm going to be the host of this podcast. And in this podcast, we're going to talk about all things related to CNC. We're going to dive into a variety of topics, discussions, tips, tricks, and collaborate with others in the industry, including professionals from our own organization. Hopefully you'll join us. We're going to have a lot of fun in this, but we're also going to hopefully teach you a few things related to the industry. So join us every week. We're going to have a new podcast. Check it out on all your favorite podcast host sites. And let's have a little fun talking about CNC. Welcome back to Talkin Shop with ShopSabre. I'm Brandon. I'm here with Jesse again.
Hey, Brandon. We got a special guest with us here today.
We do. It's RouterBob.
RouterBob Week.
Bob, welcome to the show.
Thanks, guys.
So, I guess we're going to jump right into this. I don't think there's a whole lot of introduction needed with Bob, is there?
No, people have been waiting for this since we told them this was coming.
We're probably never going to be listened to again. They're going to just start following Bob.
Right. Get those clowns off this podcast. We want more Bob.
Yeah, put Bob back on. Get rid of those two jokers.
I doubt that.
I don't know. Bob, you are the man, the myth, the legend, as they say. But I got to ask, what the hell is RouterBob? Where did that come from?
Well, there's a long story that goes with that. About 25 years ago is when I actually got into the CNC router business. It was another Minnesota company.
Jesse, how old were you 25 years ago?
I was 9.
You were 9. Okay, so when Jesse was 9, got it.
So it was a Minnesota company called Como Machine, and at the time it was a really, really good router builder. Well, Como was owned by two brothers, Bob Sexton and Fred Sexton. And so back then, to get online, we didn't have the internet like we had it now. You had to have an internet provider, and most people use America Online.
AOL.
So I decided. And it was dial-up. Mm-hmm. You had a little modem in your laptop. Yeah, you had a modem in your laptop. I remember when I got to double the speed of my modem. Really helped. But you're plugged into a phone line, and people got really messed up because they were paying long distance charges, and they get a $500 phone bill because of AOL. So anyway, I had to pick a name. So I was going to be Como Bob, but I guess someone else already had it, which might have been Bob Sexton, I don't know. So I became RouterBob. So I became RouterBob at AOL.com, and I still have that, and it's been there forever.
Makes sense. I mean, think about it. You get an email from a guy that comes through from RouterBob at AOL. You're going to start referring to him as RouterBob.
RouterBob. So people didn't know my name, and they just say RouterBob.
Well, there we go.
That's
I like your choice.
And it's stuck. It's really
do you still have the AOL account?
Yes, sure do.
Look at that. He's still got the AOL account.
Since 1994.
That's awesome. The original AOL guy, RouterBob. Yeah. That's awesome. But, what's your favorite part about being RouterBob?
Probably helping people.
Yeah?
It's I always thought, when I got old like I am now, I'm an old man, a tired old man actually, and I always say, being old is not that bad a deal. Number one, the old guys see me do it, and they say, well, if he could do it, I can do it. Yeah. So it's actually worked out pretty good.
Yeah, no, that's the truth. That's the thing is, I think you bring a lot to the industry. I mean, it's just myself, I can say firsthand, I've learned a lot from just listening to you and being around you and, the tips and the tricks. And there's just so much that can be picked up being around you that, I always joke. 30 years in the business is no joke. You've been doing it a long time. And, Jesse and myself, we only hope to probably learn as much as you've probably forgotten over the years. But,
you guys have it easy now.
Oh, yeah.
You're selling machines that cost about what a pickup costs.
Yeah.
Try selling that same machine for more than a guy's house cost at the time.
And that's what we try telling people.
That's exactly what it is.
I'm glad you're saying it, Bob, because we talk about that all the time. Like, people don't realize, the technology has gotten better, but it's become more affordable for people, and it's unbelievable.
Used to, the machine cost more than the guy's house.
That's crazy.
That's nuts.
They just sweat blood.
How do you convince the wife of that?
And
that's a tough sell.
Right.
Smaller companies are signing personal guarantees, so everything's on the line.
So all those people listening, see when Jesse sends you that quote, it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse than it is today, right?
Right.
But
see, I look at our business as pickup trucks.
Yeah.
Now, if you got the basic truck, which is what you tell your wife you're going to buy.
Right.
Okay, that's the pro. Then you've got what you drive home with the wheels and the leather seats and all that stuff. And the
all the upgrades, right? You get them into the IS.
And then you got the diesel model, which is the ISM.
Yeah.
So I look at our business as pickup trucks.
There it is.
If your truck tears up, you're probably going to go get a new one if you need it today. If you have to have it, you probably can go get it.
Yeah. No, that's a little bit. That's true. I think, the next step, I'd want to know about, I guess, Bob, everybody's curious. I mean, we all know who Bob is. We see Bob in video. Bob, do you have a family?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Tell them about it.
I have a wife. I have 3 children. I have 7 grandchildren.
Wow.
They're all grown. They're all in their upper 30s, or my wife's older than that. But you know, I've basically been doing this either CNC machines or software for 25 years.
That's so awesome.
And I was lucky. I got into it when nesting got started. And when that nesting process was introduced, it changed the industry. And prior to that, you basically had European companies coming over here trying to sell a customer a saw and a point-to-point machine. So you saw the blanks up, and then you put them on a point-to-point machine, and you do all the machining. So you do the hole drilling and detail machining and stuff like that. Well, that's 2 operators and 2 machines. And nesting, at the end of the day, nesting produced parts at a lower cost. That's why I won. At the end of the day, nesting was the cheapest way to produce parts, and it revolutionized the cabinet business, because now, you know, it let back before that, these guys with table saws in factories. Nesting changed all that, and you could actually have a one-man shop and do very well.
And Bob, if I'm not mistaken here, weren't you a big part of the nesting world? I mean, weren't you a big part of making that happen?
I was in the group that made that happen.
Yeah.
Yes, I was.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is Bob's got a lot of...
The catalyst behind it really early on in the late 90s was a company called Simtech, which was a software company, and it had a CAM program that ran in AutoCAD, and it actually used AutoCAD as a programming language. And it just happened the first month I was at Como, we bought that company.
Oh.
And I saw it, I said, wow, this is great. And so then I had some responsibilities in that because I had interest in it, and that all kind of played at the right time at the right place.
You know, and I've talked to a lot of people about you, and guys that actually knew you well before I knew you, and they said that, you know, the one thing that you really brought to the industry, and I've talked to a lot of people, and they said that you were one of the first guys to really learn how to do the software as a sales guy. I mean,
see, when I was at Como, I was the only sales guy who knew how to run a machine.
Yeah. Oh.
And I saw the software, and I said, this is a ticket. And what made nesting work was a program that was called AutoNest.
Yeah.
And it let you visualize what nesting was.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if you get a customer looking at that screen of your computer nesting, it's over with.
Yeah, I mean,
because he starts thinking, "Wow, that's going to change my company," and
yeah,
it did.
it's the visual validation. I mean, it's funny that you say that, because back then it was a wow moment. You had to convince them of it. Nowadays, it's almost like people can't imagine without it.
Well, see, early on, nobody believed it worked. Because think about it, you got all the Italian machine companies over here, the European ones for the matter, and they're all saying it doesn't work. Oh, these guys are stupid. Americans are stupid. Because nesting is an American anomaly. We used to have to cut cabinets out to prove to people it worked. See, I'm not talking about 2 cabinets. I'm talking about doing a kitchen job.
Yeah, wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, a guy called material on a trailer, and we cut a kitchen out to prove it worked. It's a lot easier. Everybody knows it works now.
Yeah, no, exactly.
So, Bob, you come from a couple different companies to get here. How did you first hear about ShopSabre? How did you find ShopSabre?
When I turned 65 years old, I decided it was time to quit working. And I just spent 7 years at a company, and we done very well with it. And I went home and fished for a few months, and I get a phone call from a friend of mine in the software business, and he said, "Do you know who ShopSabre is?" I said, "Well, I've heard of the brand, but I really don't know much about it." And he said, "Well, they want to do videos like you've done before." So I called up to ShopSabre, and I talked to Brandon, and told him who I was, and we kind of decided, well, you know, I'll come up, we'll talk about it. So I flew up here. This is back 2 buildings ago. We were at Elko, Minnesota.
Yeah, right. You know, the funny thing about that I remember is, I remember watching Bob's videos and thinking to myself, like, I got to do videos like this on our machine. Like, I got to do it. And then I tried to do my first one and realized, holy crap, this guy's really good at what he does. Like, I'm terrible. And I remember calling that software manufacturer up and saying, I need to learn how to use your software like Bob did. And he said, I don't think you're going to be able to do it like he does. And I said, I don't think I'm going to either. And he said, you do know he's available to help, right? And I said, well, he works for my competitor. And he goes, not anymore, he doesn't. Why don't you give him a call? And I was like, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, give him a call.
So that's how it all got started. So I flew up here and sat down. I met with Jim and Brandon, and we were sitting in a conference room. It was like I knew them. There was just something weird. It's like we already knew each other, but we didn't. And Jim and I finally went to lunch, and coming back, for lunch he said, "You want to do this?" I said, "Yeah, let's do it." And we shook hands, and then we came back and we sat down on a sheet of paper and wrote all the details of what we'd agreed to.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And that worked from then on.
And it was, if I'm not mistaken, Bob, it was supposed to be 1 year. We're gonna work together, help everything out, and then what was that? 4.5 years ago.
I figured how many more videos do you need after a year? But things just kept growing, and we came new models. So have a new model, you got to have new videos. So
Right.
it just never ends.
Yeah, it doesn't. It's funny that year flew by. I mean, if you think about it, Bob, right? That first year, man, we flew through stuff, and we were trying to get as many videos out as we could to try to, take advantage of it. And it's like we were having so much fun. I don't think we realized a year went by.
The thing that surprised me the most when I came up here was the machine. When I saw the IS, I said, "Holy cow! I would have been scared to death of you guys if I'd known you had this at a previous employer." I said, "That's how powerful." I said, "Nobody knows about it." I said, "We got to get the word out about this machine." And
That's
where
awesome.
the IS, yeah.
Well, how has your experience with ShopSabre been?
Oh, it's great. It's a great company. It's as we hire new people, and I tell them, I said, "This is probably the best place you'll ever work in your life."
I remember you telling me that when I started.
And it's because it's so successful. Even when the market's not that good, we're very strong because we have a very good niche, and we have a tremendous value. So the only reason someone doesn't buy a machine from us is because they don't know who we are. If they find us and they learn about our machines, we're probably going to get the order if they can afford it.
I absolutely agree.
And that's kind of our goal. I mean, our common goal has always been be a machine for everybody, but make it affordable enough where you can compete against the machines that
you
are
can
lesser
do that
quality.
because we do it here.
Correct.
It's hard to do that when you're buying stuff from halfway around the world.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you got to worry about containers and stuff. We do very, very well, and we invest in what we need to do stuff here at higher volumes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you got a lot more say when you're the manufacturer. That's for sure.
I think one thing we always hear is ShopSabre stole them away. We didn't steal you, did we, Bob?
You came willingly?
I've retired.
Yeah.
If I hadn't got that phone call,
Yeah.
I had actually a guide fishing business going. That's how I spent my time, was a fishing charter captain.
Yeah. No, exactly. I know. And then
How much do we pay you to say all this, Bob?
Nothing. I'm an employee.
Yeah, see? Yeah, I love it because we talk about it all the time, and we joke around about that. But what brought Bob here was truly a passion. I mean, when we started talking, and I remember it, like the passion you had at the time about everything you knew, and the passion we have about our product. It, like you said, just felt like the right fit.
Everything really just clicked. And when something like that happens, you know it.
Yeah.
Nobody tell you, just know it. You said, "Boy, there's something about this that's right."
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And the one thing I kind of joked about is, when you and I were talking, you were saying, you were getting a lot of emails from people wondering if you were going to do your own private videos, and you said you had to find a machine for yourself. Right. And that's kind of where our conversation originally started, was talking about a machine for your home use. And I guess the $1 million question everybody always asks me is, does Bob really own a ShopSabre?
Yes, I do. I have a ShopSabre SS23 in my garage.
What surprised you the most about your ShopSabre 23 for your house?
I would have to say the machine control. I knew from using it in the shop here how good it was, but I never really understood how powerful it is and how easy it is for a user. And running the machine and making things and using it, I thought, wow, this is unbelievable. And I didn't think about that going into the project.
Because you come from a world where, obviously you've used really industrial controllers, and then you have the Chinese handheld pendants as well. I mean, compare it, right? Let's talk to the viewers here that are listening. What's your feedback?
Well, I started back when there weren't any simple control. There were no Windows controls. It was all machine tool controls, and that's how we learned. And in fact, when I started, there wasn't any software. You wrote all the programs. So now look at where we're at now.
Yeah.
I've gone through the cheap imported controls that have so many limitations, and then so I have a pretty good idea what a control needs to do. And so I've got my controller. I actually run the programming software right there in the garage on my controller. And it's a really efficient way to do things. And I really didn't develop an appreciation for that till I had the machine in my garage and used it. That's where that really, really came out. There's a funny story here too. All right, so I was going to buy the router motor option because you can run the whole thing on 110.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I hummed around and I thought, well, I'll just have an electrician come in there and put me a panel in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got enough power for a dust collector if I wanted one, and the machine, and the spindle, and all that. And then I went ahead and I got the phenolic table. Brandon and I don't agree on that all the time, but and I got
Bob's convinced me.
I got the vacuum table and I got the T-slots. And I tell people all the time I talk to, be sure, don't overlook that, because you can't machine a part if you can't hold it.
Right.
And all those things help. Like the vacuum table is unbelievable. Now I have an F1 on mine, and it holds as good as the F4 on a big machine.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the limitation I have is the top's 20 or 30 by 40.
Yeah.
But if the thing fits on there, you can cut whatever you want.
You know,
The T-slots are pretty good too, and I've worked a way out to where I can take a fixture and
exactly. I was just going to go there.
and relocate it so that it's repeatable again. That means that fixture can be used over and over, and it's all done because of the T-slots.
That's my favorite. I mean, let's touch on that fixturing real quick, because you used a phrase I love using, that you can't cut what you can't hold down. I mean,
If you can't hold
I
it,
think,
you can't cut it.
yeah, I think a lot of people miss the
People
fixturing
think wood
side.
just hangs in space while you
Yeah.
machine. That's not how it works.
Yeah, like the real world. You got to hold this stuff down, and honestly, the less vibration you get in the part, and the less movement you get in the part, the better the cuts are. You know, and
Absolutely.
there's so many people that when we talk to on the phone, they're like, "Well, you both have vacuum tables. You both have clamps. There's a
Well,
difference."
Here's the difference. And you look at the machine. We build the 23 just like the bigger machines.
Mm-hmm.
It's got the steel gantry. It's got ball screws. It's got the good rails and stuff. They cut really, really good for that price range. And a lot of the machines you're looking at are toys compared to one of these.
Yeah, and that's the truth. Like you said, the toy aspect of it. I mean, that's kind of what Jim and myself have always tried to stay away from. Was Chris in the shop. He's really big about making sure that the smallest machines we sell are just as quality as the biggest machines we sell.
Yeah, I think we owe it to the industry to offer the 23
I agree.
because it's such a great product. The mistake I made, it's not a mistake. I could do it now, but if I were doing it again, I would add the turner.
The fourth axis.
The reason I didn't do it was because space, and I thought, well, that thing will be in the way. And if you look at a 23 gantry, it's extended on one end automatically, so it's got travel. You don't stick it up on the table; it goes down on the end. So
Yeah.
if I were doing it over again, I'd probably add that.
Yeah, no,
Because
definitely.
once again, it opens up so many things you can do. And
Yeah,
once
well,
again,
that's-
it's another way of holding parts.
And that's a fun thing too, is we have that coming up in a future episode on our YouTube channel. We're going to be doing some fourth axis turning. I know that. Yeah, I know it's a personal favorite of yours. We've done a lot of that stuff.
It's not really turning.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, it can be, but it's not really turning.
Yeah.
It's basic. Think about this. Let's say that I take a 3D object and it's got acanthus leaves on it. So I want to make something that looks like a spindle for a leg with acanthus leaves.
Yep.
Well, you can't turn that on a lathe.
Jesse just glazed over. He doesn't know what word you just used.
Acanthus.
Yep, you're absolutely right.
It's all right, Jesse. We'll keep you here.
Yeah, explain this. I'm
It's a
interested.
design, you see, but it can't. You see, it looks like a vase and there'll be leaves. No, those are acanthus leaves. Is what they call them.
Oh,
Probably goes back thousands of years.
yeah. I'm only 34,
okay, so
Bob.
but you can't make those on a lathe. You can't turn those because all that does is spin.
Yeah.
Well, think about what if I had a 3D model of that turning with the acanthus leaves on it. Okay, if I bring that into VCarve Pro, it'll recognize that's a 3D model, and it'll say, "Do you want to unwrap it?" Okay, so if I say yes, instead of that model, it's laid out like it was unwrapped off of a cylinder. So now I've got a rectangle.
So now it's flat to the
and-
table.
Right. I've got a rectangle, and the proportions happen to be perfect. One dimension is the circumference of that blank. And so now, when I cut that, all I'm doing is going back and forth, and the cutter raises and lowers. When I get done, I have that whole surface. Well, instead of moving in X, I'm actually rotating. So now I've rotated 360 degrees. There's my part, and it's absolutely it's magic. It's like the piece was hiding that blank, and all of a sudden
Yeah,
it's absolute magic, and you can do that with that fourth axis.
that's a fun. Let's take this one step further, Bob. You remember when we did that fourth axis video on the shop?
4:30 a.m. That's what I remember.
4:30
I remember
a.m.
about that.
Let me tell you about that little story. So we're out there in the shop, right? And Jesse, back in the day, like when we first started videos, the shop wasn't very big. I mean, it was in our first shop and second shop. I take that back. Second shop, but still wasn't very big.
It's first. It's Elko. It was Elko.
Yeah, second shop for ShopSabre though.
Yeah,
Elko
right,
is
right.
yeah. So yep. So exactly. But yeah, we're in the shop, right? And back then we didn't. I mean, it was a warm building. It was a tin building. So you had to have all the doors open.
Oh,
So you had
icky.
all these flies.
And
that were-
mosquitoes.
yeah, mosquitoes, everything flying in the building at night, right? And Bob comes up here. I mean, the flies are landing on his nose, his fingers. I mean, it was an absolute disaster as we're trying to shoot video. And we'd get this like perfect scene almost, and a fly would land right on Bob.
Oh, shoot, fly.
And we had to reshoot And it ended up costing us so much. So finally it was like midnight and we decided we got to shut these doors. You know, it's going to be hot. We got to deal with it. We were able to get it to the point where we could shoot video. But Bob and I, and then to make it worse, I may or may not, we're not going to point fingers. Somebody in this room may or may not have been me, set something up wrong.
No way.
What? And Bob's project didn't turn out because Brandon didn't set it right. And so we had to shoot it again. We had to start over.
Well, now keep in mind, it's a cabriolet. This isn't some little turn. This is a
And now we're in the wee
cabriolet.
hours of the morning.
It's wee hours in the morning, and we got to start
yeah.
cabriolet leg number 2.
Sweet.
And
You're ready to kill him at this point, I can
No, not
imagine.
really.
No, we were both laughing. Like there was nothing to be upset about. We knew who the mistake was, you know, and Bob's project was awesome. We were really excited about it, and we had the message. We just had to get it cut, so we recut it, and it took a little bit of time to cut that project.
It's a beautiful part.
Absolutely
We
beautiful.
still got it. It's a beautiful part.
Yeah, we
It's
still
a
got it.
cabriolet leg. It's not a turning.
Yeah,
thing
check
anyway.
that video out on YouTube. If you haven't checked it, we have that video on YouTube. Watch the video and then think to yourself, wow, Brandon and Bob were up at 4:30 in the morning doing this. Because we finished, and I'll never forget it, we finished at 4:30 in the morning. Bob and I split out, and I was back at the shop by 7 a.m. because, well, the business still had to open at 7. So,
Wow.
yeah, we were there the next day. Needless to say, Bob and I didn't have as much energy as we had.
You no energy? Is that even possible?
Well, I was like a normal person that day.
It's not possible.
Yeah,
You
it
have
was
more
normal.
energy than anyone I've ever met.
I was normal that day.
Speaking of energy, Bob, what makes ShopSabre so exciting for you?
It's the passion. I think you come up here and it's a group of people that are all tremendously passionate about what we're doing, and they feed off each other. It's really a great experience. Sometimes Brandon and I will be talking about how we're going to shoot a scene, and we'll be talking back and forth for 15 minutes to fine tune the exact message we want the customer to hear. That's how it works.
That makes sense. You two are two of the most passionate people about CNC I've ever met, so I can imagine what those conversations are like. Bob, how is ShopSabre different than the competition you've been at?
Well, we're a really good company.
Oh, I know. That's why I'm here.
And there's a huge advantage to being an American manufacturer. And that's you control your own destiny. If you have a problem with supplier, you replace that. You control everything. You look at the engineering talent we have here. We can make anything.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of companies can't do that. Very few companies have the ability to do what we can do here. And I think that's one of the reasons we're really successful.
You touched on something there, what about USA Made really is so much better, Bob? And when you look at USA Made, we talked about it. We had an episode just recently. We talked about USA Made versus Chinese or whatever. But my question to you, being that you've been in the industry, and let's be honest, let's just talk about the elephant in the room. You've worked at a company that had Chinese products.
Right.
You know both sides of it. Being the guy that's sitting here, if I'm a guy as a customer asking you, what about working in the USA makes the product better?
Well, the communication part is what's wrong with China or any of the companies in those areas, and that is the ability to communicate information and get it responded to. You can't imagine how difficult it is to do business halfway around the world. Now, for one thing, the container's paid for before you open it.
Yeah.
So, you've been selling machines out the container that's coming, and then you open it up and there's something wrong. You have to fix all those. You don't get paid for that. It's just really, really difficult.
Yeah.
It's so nice to be able, if you have a problem, to resolve it here. Our service people are the best I've ever seen in the industry. And if there's a problem, it gets dealt with right now. It didn't get pushed back till next month's shipment.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. Nobody can do that. That's important stuff.
Yeah.
And the people there, they don't own factories over there. They're buying from people to sell to companies all over the world.
And that's something we touched on. We said that the machines really don't change from company to company over there. It's just the colors and the sticker.
Yeah, and you don't know where they're actually coming from. You don't know where your supplier is getting them from. He might not be making them himself. So it's really difficult. And though I will say I was able to make good parts on those machines, I always question though, how long would that work?
Yeah.
Right.
One thing about us, you can always get a part for a machine, and if you're buying from a manufacturer halfway around the world, and they change something, so what? You're stuck. And if you're one of their customers, you're really stuck. And I think that's what the problem with the imported machine. It's not that the people that sell them are evil or anything like that.
Yeah.
They're just like us.
Yeah.
They want to make customers happy. It's just their hands are tied. There's nothing they can do about it.
We actually talked on that, didn't we?
Absolutely.
Their hands are tied.
Yeah.
They're not bad people. There's nothing they can do.
We said the same thing. Like we met several people who do work in that industry, or work for those companies, and they're good people. We said that they're
There's
just
nothing wrong with it.
limited by the technology that is around them, unfortunately, and the tools that are at their disposal.
Well,
and,
when you make a choice not to invest in equipment,
yep.
that's your alternative. Is you
Yeah.
got to buy from somebody else.
You know, you're right. I mean, you buy stuff from other people, and there's ways to do that. But, you know, we talk about ball screws. We talk about rack and pinion. Bob, let's just talk about this real quick. Why do you prefer ball screw? You personally. And this has nothing to do with the industry, but you personally, what's your preference on ball screw?
For me, it's a no-brainer. If you look at the heaviest machining applications, which would be CNC mills, they're all ball screw. Well, they're ball screw for a reason. If you could get by with rack and pinions, which cost, they would be using those, but they can't. Well, look at what we're doing. We try to make what we call a machine tool grade CNC router. And we said these machines will have ball screws. And so we developed the entire technology around it. I think it just makes a better machine. And it's not that much more costly if you do it correctly.
You know, and that's exactly it. I mean, that's what we try to push people into, and we tell them that, you know, we're not selling you ball screws because that's our only option. I mean, we have rack and pinion machines here as well. And, you know, we hear something, and let's just touch on this too. You know, we hear people on the phone to us all the time say,
RouterBob said rack and pinion is just as good.
I think that was 10 years ago, before the technology for ball screws had gotten to a level where we could take advantage of. I think that's what you're seeing.
You know, and that's what I try to point that out, and I'm glad you said it, and I'm glad we brought this up because, you know, we always try to tell people, you really got to look at the videos that you're hearing this in. You know, it's a really different world 10 years ago in the CNC world.
Absolutely,
I mean, even look at our machines. Let's just back the truck up. Train? Is that what we call it? Back that train up. Is that what you yelled?
Choo choo.
Yeah. So the reality is what we built 10 years ago, you know, longer than 10 years ago, I mean, it was a much different, don't get me wrong, machines worked great, but they weren't as fast. They weren't nearly as rigid. I mean, we just didn't have the technology that a CNC machine has today in it, and especially not for the dollar that you can spend today, right?
10 years ago, a ball screw machine cost twice as much as what we sell ISs for right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's how technology's advanced, and we've been able to take advantage of that here at ShopSabre and
so
incorporate that into the designs.
Exactly. And so, I mean, when you're saying on a video 10 plus years ago that you can cut parts with a rack and pinion machine, it's true. You can. I mean, we still to this day, we have the RC series, right, Jesse?
Yep.
Jesse, can you cut cabinet parts on an RC series?
Yes, you can.
See, the reality is, can it be done? Absolutely. But the reason you buy an RC is because you want to still keep your money in the USA.
Right.
You buy an RC because you want a machine and your shoebox only has so much money in it, and the only way you're going to do it is either you're going to go buy something from China or you're going to buy something from America, and the RC is your solution in America.
Yes, sir.
But that Pro model, that IS model, that ISM, those models are your next step up. And, you know, that's the reality. You know, Bob, you know, let's touch on it. You always say they're machine tool grade CNC routers.
Right,
you know,
right.
Explain that a little bit, Bob. Explain that to people who don't maybe know what that means.
We wanted to take the characteristics of machine tools and bring them into CNC routing, and that's where that came from. So the first thing we did, of course, was use ball screws and all the axes because we felt like that was a better technology. And then we drive those with the closed loop servos. They have tremendous amount of power, but you know what really makes the machine accurate? So not so much that, it's the machining we do on the frames. It turns out that the final pass that you make on that surface that a guide rail gets mounted on determines a lot of the accuracy of the machine. People don't understand that. That's why it's so important to have setups that you can do all that in a single setup on a mill.
Yeah, and that's, you know, we have that video, Bob, that you did showing that out. I know, I love that video. You and I had a blast when we were, you know, watching the machines get cut. I think we both were just, I think it's the first time ever in the history, Bob and I were both silent at the same time. There was nothing to say. It was just incredible to watch, you know, and we get to see this stuff all the time. But every time those machines run, you and I we're just mesmerized by it.
But all of those things go together to create this outcome in the machine, and that's the machine tool grade router concept. It's all of that together.
And that's, you know, and I think that's the important part is because you can't just mill a frame and then stick rack and pinion on it and still get the same results. You're still going to get a lesser quality, but you can't just stick a ball screw on an unmilled frame either. You know, it's the whole concept. It's like building a house. It doesn't matter how great your cabinetry is in your house if your foundation is terrible. Right. You know, it has to be, you know, together.
Everything works together.
Yeah, you can't have the greatest foundation and then, you know, the cheapest cabinets. It doesn't make the house, you know, the same. So there's a lot of things that we do to marry it together. You know, whether it be upgraded technology in the motors, the drive system, the frames. There's so many things we do, and you know, regarding what you hear Bob saying, you know, videos, and the beauty of it is it's all based on the truth of the technology. It's everything you can see when you come to ShopSabre. And, you know, that's something that, you know, I want to talk about a little bit is, you know, for anybody that's been listening to our podcast that maybe doesn't know about our videos as much, we've encouraged you, obviously, week over week to go check out our YouTube channel. But Bob's the star there. Let's be honest. Like, Bob is the guy there. You get to watch Bob in action. And he explains not just the technology, but how to do things. He goes through the software. There's so many cool things. Let's talk a little bit about that. Let's talk about how do these ideas come about in all these videos that we do, Bob?
Well, first off, my wife says I'm a legend in my own mind. Here's what we try to do in the videos. First off, we want to pick a topic that we think will be of interest. Now, sometimes we do kitchen cabinet projects to show people how all that works. Sometimes we do projects that have a lot of fixturing. Sometimes we do neat stuff like live edge, something that just happens to come across and say, hey, that's great. Let's show people how to do that, because, if there's an old saying, if the person that sells the machine can't make the part, who's going to teach you? That's kind of where we're at here.
Exactly.
And I think that's why the videos have been successful, because we try to break it down so that you understand exactly what we did. Yeah. It's like eating an elephant. It's one bite at a time. You start at the tail and then at the trunk.
I've never eaten an elephant. Have you, Jesse?
But think about
not in a sitting.
It's about taking these complex concepts and breaking them into pieces that you can understand, and when you put it all together, it makes sense. And I think that's why the videos work.
Yeah, it's really, I think, an important part. And I can't get this message across enough, is when we sit with Bob and we come up with these ideas. And a lot of times they're just kind of spitball ideas. I mean, you and I sit down and we start looking at things that we've seen done or we've wanted to do, right. And sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes it's just our wives say this would be a cool thing, and we go
this.
that. Yeah, I need this.
I need a Christmas tree.
Yeah, I need a Christmas tree. That's happened before, but
or making a table for our entranceway.
That was pretty fun. That was Bob. That was a unique project we had to learn how to make, wasn't it? Live edge table.
Yeah, we figured out how expensive that is.
Yeah, don't mess that up. That gets expensive really fast.
We figured how much that resin costs. It takes a lot of it.
It takes a lot of it too. Yeah, especially. Oh, hey, by the way, wood floats.
Yeah, it does, and that stuff was messy.
Yeah, we made a little bit of a mess, but it was fun. It was a cool project.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, thanks for including me in that alone, Bob. That was my first project I did with you at ShopSabre here. That was a lot of fun.
Sometimes I make things at home for my boat. In fact, I do it all the time because I make them out of starboard, and it holds up. And sometimes I'll create something and say, boy, this is neat. Let's do a video to show people how to do this. Yeah. To show an idea that says, I'm not the only person that needs this on their boat. Let's show people how to cut plastic to do it. So sometimes an idea comes along like that. When we did the chess table, where that came from was my granddaughter's learning chess. So her dad and her brother wanted to make a chess table. So I said, well, when you come home for Christmas, we'll do it on the machine. So we made the first chess table on my 23.
Do you make a lot of things for your grandkids and your kids?
I need to make more, probably.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite things to make on the machine? What are some of your other favorite things?
You can't make Fortnite on the
right
on the CNC machine, Jesse.
You can make characters. I'm sure you can.
There we go.
There, Bob. You're Bob. You'll find a way to do.
Bob will figure it out.
I'll probably do more stuff for the boat than anything else.
Do you know what Fortnite is, Bob?
No.
Not a clue. No problem.
Let me give you an example. Okay, I was changing the electronics on my boat. And what that involved was there's actually a plate on the helm that the electronics all mount. So I decided that I could make that with the correct holes in it. Mm-hmm. All right, so think about it. This is an irregular shaped part, and it's got a bunch of holes. And I wanted the holes to line up. So I took the original, I took it on my 23, and I digitized the locations of all those holes with the machine.
That's cool.
Wow.
All right, now once I know those, that means the screws fit the holes that are there.
Yep.
And then use that to base everything else on. And it's just amazing how accurate that was. So I could actually drill those holes first and then cut the other shape, and everything fit perfect.
That's super cool.
There's people you wouldn't think about having a machine have the ability to do that. That's all part of our control system. That's a feature built into our control system.
And I think that's a big part of this is like, are we really having as much fun as it seems like we're having these videos? I think we're having more than we can even get in the videos.
Yeah, we probably are, because we're always working on new, exciting things. We're never stuck doing the same thing over and over. It's always, hey, let's see if we can do this. And that's not to say everything turns out perfect the first time either.
No, that's true. We're just like, we're real people here. That's what we always tell people is like, we're real people with real experience in these CNC machines. And we're not here to sell you a machine out of a book and tell you what you want to hear. We're going to tell you the truth, whether you want to hear it or not. And sometimes that means we're going to tell you what you're trying to do isn't the easiest thing to do. It's going to take a little bit. And it's because we're speaking from the heart that we've tried it. We've done some of this stuff. And, Jesse, you can speak to that a little bit here.
Absolutely.
You've seen it. How many times we've run projects and, hey, that didn't work the way we wanted to. Let's try it again, but try it this way, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We've taken a lot of projects and done them multiple times to get the outcome that we desire. So it's been a collaborative effort sometimes, going back and relooking at these. How can we do this better? How can we do it different?
It's not just the projects too, but it's the machines. I mean, if we don't get a finish that we want, I mean, you've seen it, the team out here, you know, when we're doing things, we're realistically looking at, you know, what's the fit and finish look like? What's the testing like? If something doesn't go the way we want, and we've all seen it here, right, Bob? I mean, you've been out there, you've seen Chris's pickier than any of us, I think, right? I mean, that guy.
Absolutely.
He goes through the stuff through, you know, a fine-tooth comb. So we really try to make sure what we put out is to our standards, not only on the project side, but on the product side too. You know, I think that's a big part of it. And I think that's where the passion comes from. I think that's where everybody takes a lot of pride in what their name says on that machine. You know, what part was I responsible for? The sales guys, they're responsible for making sure they get the right configuration. They take a lot of pride in getting it right. You know, you look at the tech guys, they take a lot of pride in making sure the customer is happy with their purchase. But in between there's a whole lot of pride on the guy who welds it, the guy who paints it, the guy who does everything else. And, you know, Bob, you know, that's something I'd like to talk about a little bit. You've been an outsider that walked in and became a part of it. What was your initial take on some of that? I mean, what would you say?
It amazed me how productive our workers were, how much we could produce with no more people at the time than we had. And part of it was because the way we had them trained. First off, most of our workers have been there with us for 10 years, so they were really knowledgeable. For instance, if a machine's coming down the line and it needs a top machine now, a vacuum table, for instance, there's 3 guys can walk over and do that. Yeah. So that's what makes all this work. Yeah. And the other thing that's really important is how things are packed before they ship, because that determines what you get.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. The better job we do packing, the less trouble you're going to have. And I've been all over the place on that through the years, and our stuff is impeccable. Yeah. And once again, it all goes back to their desire in the shop to make sure your experience is positive.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because what a lot of people don't realize is actually Chris, who checks off the machines, he takes a picture of every machine before it leaves. He makes sure that he's got a photo to say this is how we package it, because let's be honest, the world we live in today, the trucking industry and everything that's going on, man, I got a package. Sketchy. I got a package from UPS the other day.
You actually got the package?
Well, it showed up, but I think I only got half of it because the other half of the box is somewhere. And you know, I blame Amy. I would too. Yeah, she's ordering too much on Amazon. So I think the guy at UPS is getting tired and he just boots it from the end of the driveway up the street. You know, but
we're going downtown.
It's really bad. I mean, I got some packages that, Bob, do you ever get packages at your house that are just destroyed when they come to you from UPS and FedEx?
Yeah, that's very common now, actually. Very common.
So we try to protect from that when we package. You know, we're trying to give you, and we're not blaming the drivers. Let's be honest. If you ain't got any drivers out there listening, we know it's not your fault. It goes through a lot of places before it gets, you know, to your hands. But the reality is we're in a world where everybody is under a lot of demand right now. A lot of people want things faster than realistically the world's turning. You know, we're trying to produce parts faster than they ever had to before. People want things yesterday that they're ordering today, and unfortunately somebody on the other line is willing to tell them that they're going to do it, you know, and so it's forcing people like ourselves who are a little bit, you know, more honest about our lead times to, you know, only, you know, be able to do so much in so much time. And the unfortunate part of that is the freight companies are taking on more they can bite off.
Well, they're shorthanded too right now.
Yeah, exactly. And so, you know, naturally it's a trickle-down effect. You know, the machine might be built and it's great, and then we get it on the truck and it gets banged around on, you know, 4 different deliveries, you know, and unfortunately that's one of the downfalls. So we've tried to, one thing ShopSabre's done is we've eliminated that terminal delivery. We've started doing direct ship, you know, and trying to make it so less people are touching it. You know, there's less chance of things getting wrecked. You know, so I appreciate Bob jumping in and talking about that.
Yeah, actually, I had mine direct ship like that for that reason, because it wasn't going to be taken off the truck, and then the truck couldn't come up my driveway, so I had a local mover meet the truck, and then they downloaded and he brought it to my house.
Wow!
And he only charged a couple $100, and it was on my garage floor before he left, so that worked out pretty good. So I got the advantage of it not being moved around in a freight terminal.
Yep.
And just for a few dollars, having somebody unload it for me. So
sometimes it's worth spending a little bit more money. So
drop it and see how much
that peace of mind.
Yeah, peace of mind. Don't drop it. Exactly. That's a bad
drop
day.
it and see how much it costs.
No, exactly. You know, I think we're at the part of the show where we had a kind of a fun thing planned today, didn't we, Jesse?
Oh yeah, you better be ready for this.
Yeah, so we're gonna call it rapid fire.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, we came up with some just ideas, questions, things that we just want, Bob. We want you to tell us what comes to mind first, or your answer to the question just as fast as we can. We're going to rapid fire through some questions here. I'm going to kind of alternate back and forth, I think, between Jesse and I. Jesse, you going to kick it off or am I kicking it off?
I'll kick it off.
You kick it off.
Ready for this, Bob?
Okay, let's hear it.
Coke or Pepsi?
Pepsi, always.
Peanut butter or jelly?
Peanut butter.
Favorite show?
The Blacklist.
Favorite color?
Blue.
Waffles or French toast?
French toast.
I love French toast.
I love French
That's
toast.
That's an awesome question.
I also like waffles.
French
too.
toast made with Texas toast.
Oh,
I agree with you there.
I know what I'm doing for dinner tonight. What about your favorite sport?
Fishing, probably.
Fishing.
What's your favorite? Well, wouldn't that be your hobby as well then?
Yeah, well, it depends on how serious you are about
So
it.
sport fishing.
Fishing's your life. Let's just be
Yeah,
honest.
so fishing. We just
I
solved that.
probably
Yeah.
like football. Of traditional sports, probably football the best.
What's your favorite movie?
Gosh, I don't have a favorite.
You just went twice in a row. What? I don't count anymore?
No, I'm having fun with RouterBob.
I knew it. I was going to get cut out of the episode because of Bob. See, this is what happens, Bob, when you come on. Everybody else wants to talk to Bob.
Hey, why don't you go ahead and take your turn?
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, go back to it. Where's your favorite USA destination?
Lakeville, Minnesota.
Lakeville.
I like
Hey,
it. I like
that.
it. Where's your favorite non-American destination?
Costa Rica.
Nice.
Nice.
Favorite ShopSabre machine?
Yes.
Favorite accessory on a ShopSabre?
Vacuum table.
Favorite non-pornographic website?
I actually like the Facebook, but I like our Saber Nation group on Facebook. That's probably my favorite site.
Nice. I like that too.
Yeah, it's got so much information. You get to know some of our users, and you realize how talented they are. They're unbelievable. It's how talented some of our users are on there.
Favorite sales guy at ShopSabre?
Uh-oh.
What's the new guy's name?
Come on.
Yeah, there we go. Micah got a shout out.
Micah.
Micah got a shout out there.
Yeah, call up and order something from Micah.
There we go.
He needs an order.
What would you say, karate or taekwondo?
Taekwondo.
Thought you was a karate guy.
I took him as a karate
yeah,
guy
I
too.
can see in the little outfit.
Joe
and the
Yeah.
belt.
Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Rogan.
There we go.
That's
Got
the
it.
Influence.
Here we go.
Favorite date night activity with your wife?
Boy, that's been a long time.
Probably fishing.
Go out to dinner. Go out to dinner.
Fishing.
I bet this is her
She
favorite
doesn't
week
like
of
to
every month,
fish.
huh?
It probably is.
Yeah.
Let it be known.
Yeah, Router
It
Bob in
probably
Minnesota.
is.
Yep. Favorite week, right? Yeah. You know, I know it's my favorite week though. We get to do a lot of fun stuff on this week.
It is a lot of fun. And I gotta say, Bob, you were one of the big reasons why I came here to ShopSabre. I saw your videos and I talked to Brandon and they were such quality. I was like, this has gotta be a place that I wanna be.
Well,
And
this
you
is
were a big
great,
part of
this
me
is a
coming on
great
board
place to
here.
be. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime opportunity to work in a place like this.
I absolutely agree with you, Bob, and I'm grateful for the opportunity.
Well, you're doing a great job here, or we've replaced you already.
Jesse, I'm not replacing you.
Thanks, Brandon.
I need a co-host on my podcast for 3 out of the 4 weeks. I could have Bob
Is that
here.
the only
once.
reason I'm here?
Maybe.
My charming good looks and my podcasting abilities?
Well, you must be really good at podcasting then.
I don't think it's
Wow.
looks. I think it's voice.
I think so too. He's like we talked about that. Remember, we have
First podcast.
voices.
We
We got
definitely have faces for radio.
That's
Exactly.
right. You guys do have great radio faces, by the way.
We appreciate that, Bob. You know, in all seriousness, we try to have a lot of fun around here, but hopefully today everybody learned a little bit about who RouterBob is. Hopefully everybody learned a little bit about ShopSabre a little bit further. And Bob, thanks for being on today.
Had a great time here. I always like to talk about ShopSabre products, so it's a real joy to spend this time with you guys.
We appreciate it. And like I said, we got some videos we're gonna be shooting. I know we're shooting a video on cabinetry this week, so
Yes, we are.
pretty excited about that. We have some stuff coming, so make sure you guys get out to that YouTube channel, subscribe to it, because Bob's gonna have some videos coming your way. I think we're also gonna have some teasers on Instagram and Facebook this week, so make sure you're following us towards the end of the week on that. But it's been a lot of fun. But I'm Brandon.
I'm Jesse.
Thanks for talking shop with ShopSabre.